As a racial justice advocate, I'm often invited to give talks or to do workshops where I talk to white people about race. A big part of my practice is to offer real-life stories, examples, that type of thing, that help white people to be able to identify white supremacy in everyday life. My husband's family is white. Oh, come on! And I often use the cultural differences between my family and his family as a way to help white people see their whiteness.
You don't sound as a fun person at the dinner. But I just want to talk about good times.
And tell him to suit up. I'm bringing the party to you.
I'm not even sure why you think you're helping them. Maybe they're helping you.
There's one example that I use that always gets a ton of pushback. My husband and I were late to our first Thanksgiving with his family. I say late because it started at 12. We got there at 12:10. But whenever we got there at 12:10, everybody was already sat down and eating. I didn't know that. I use this illustration to point out that different cultures have different understandings of time, lateness, and what it means to be polite. Without fail, a white person will push back and say that lateness is impolite.
I think we're missing context because if you arrive late and they're already eating, why were you so surprised that you had to have a conversation about let's talk about culture? Nobody cares. We eat on time. If you arrive late, don't feel left out. That's you. Yup! Let's talk about your differences.
No.
Without fail, a white person will push back and say that lateness is impolite.
If you arrive late, I don't think there's a lot of culture would respect you. If you arrive on time, most culture would respect you or actually appreciate it because you tell them my time ain't more valuable than yours.
I usually ask a series of pointed questions that challenge their assumptions. Sometimes it takes a lot of work, but by the end they're able to identify how white cultural dominance works in this one small area of life, which opens the door for them to start peeling the onion.
The fact that I arrive on time, I've never seen somebody be like, what? Why? Nobody. Maybe when you go work on a vacation and you come back on time and you find your wife with another man, yes. A Muslim man broke into the basilisk of St. Peter in Rome, Italy and destroyed 6 chandeliers.
Let us investigate.
Based on the available information, there was an incident on February the 7th, 2025, where the Romanian man described as having a serious mental disability climbed onto the main altar of St. Peter Basilisk and damaged 6 chandeliers. Okay, my bad, I wrote it wrong. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, this seems to be like a April Fool's joke that shares a little hate in a specific direction about something that happened on the 25th of February. And not now, and not by a Muslim. Then again, they can hide the information, but be careful where you get your information.
بجعلني مقيم صلاته ومن ذريته ربنا تقبل الله ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Some people have this reaction, oh no, the horror, someone is praying. And other people have the reaction, we will not fight for Britain, keep us out of it, I'm against this advert, it's a disgrace. Ladies and gentlemen, to fight in the British army, I think you actually have to feel a little British. But generally, when most people protest that are not from Britain, I do see them walk with the British flag. So maybe that is something you need to fix first before you try to recruiting some people not from Britain. That might feel British.
How long do you plan to stay in Ireland?
I want.
How long do you plan to stay? How long do you plan to? How long do you plan to stay in Ireland?
I want forever. I'm Irish now.
How long have you been here in Ireland for?
9 months ago.
9 months. What country are you from?
I come from Jordan, but I'm from Syria.
And how come you wanted to come to Ireland?
I ask, okay, when call me somebody from UN, he tell me, can you go to Sweden, to Germany, to 5 countries maybe. But I know my friends here in Ireland, very good everything in Ireland. I'm Muslim, here no problem.
Where do you live? Do you have house or do you stay in the hotel?
No, I'm in Iraq Center now.
So does Ireland give you any money every month?
Yeah.
How much money do they give you?
Every week, I'm married, I have three daughters, my children. I take same 500 euro in 1 week.
So every week the Ireland government gives you $500.
Yeah.
How many family or friends came with you to Ireland?
With me come in 9 families, but after me come in also maybe 30 families from Jordan. Yeah.
I think this guy is Irish for his daughters. He's not Irish to fight for Ireland. And I'm saying it's a wrong thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying, in Spain I'm Spanish, in Holland I'm Dutch, on Curacao I'm Curacao, but for my wife, I'm Curacao. You pick and choose what benefits you.
Let's roll.
This is what we're doing now? This is what we're doing now. I am in shock, and this is not American. This is not American. This is not right. This is not right.
So the attitude is not going to speed things up any bit at all.
Lady, wait at speed, and sometimes you can just jump out like a gun. It's so dangerous. If you don't follow this instruction, you might still be an American. You just might get deleted though.
We just learned that a 70-year-old man was arrested after Meridian police say he hit another man with his car during today's demonstrations at the Tesla dealership in Meridian. Police say 70-year-old Christopher Talbot of Meridian made an obscene gesture towards a counter-protester and then hit him with his car. Police say the victim had been driving a truck with pro-Trump flags and had just parked and gotten out of his car when Talbot hit him.
Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a time where people justify reaction. And I've warned people about reaction because this is the first time I start thinking the way you have a political discussion. If you have a bad day and you just point out the gangster finger, you never know. Somebody might drive a car and smash that finger.
Hi, I was a worker at HHS. I was fired illegally on February 14th. There are many people who are not getting social service programs, especially people with disabilities. Are you going to do anything to stop what's happening?
You probably deserved it.
I deserved it?
You probably deserved it.
I deserved it.
That's
wow.
so rude and sad.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Why did I deserve it?
Because you seem like a clown.
Okay, sir, you shouldn't have said that.
So I went online and I asked ChatGPT, I lost my federal job and I had disability through that job. What can I do to keep my disability? First of all, it's not wrongful to ask people 5 things that you did this week at the job and you didn't answer it, so officially it's not discrimination. Second of all, if you were receiving Social Security disability insurance or supplement security income, those benefits should not stop just because you lost your job. Now you understand why I find it suspicious when people push those messages out?
There are many people who are not getting social service programs.
I'm going to ask you a question, empathy. If you look for the information, you would be surprised how easy and how grateful you should be in your own country. And thirdly, these days, if you have a disability, a lot of companies would actually hire you first. So in a way, you have way more chances. It's like a positive DEI that I would actually advocate for. But personally, from what I found, most people that got fired really fought to fight at home. If I have to convince a friend that they're not supposed to destroy a property of another person just because they don't like that person, I could never trust this person 100%. Because the fact that I need to convince you that you need to have self-control when we disagree, yeah,
I trusted you.
that's not a healthy partnership.
Talking about NPR, NPR is not biased in its coverage.
You're talking about the national shows that originate out of...
national news shows that we
Right.
produce. I'm speaking about our editorial news gathering function.
Right.
There is not bias in NPR.
If it's not biased, you don't need the funding because you can fund yourself because your news is honest. That's why you need the funding of the people that don't listen to you.
I will say, I admitted to this the other day yesterday, feels like a long time ago.
Yeah.
I was speaking with our editorial leadership. One thing that came up quite frequently was the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Indeed.
And our editorial leadership today says, we wish we'd gotten on that earlier.
And you, in fact, expressed a regret yesterday in the hearing. That was one of the newsworthy things. You came out whole from that hearing. But what made news was your regret that you had not done a better job institutionally on the Hunter Biden story.
Yeah, and to be clear, I'm not on the editorial side of the organization, and I was not there at the time.
But you represented it as your feeling and as the feeling of the editorial team today.
That's correct, because we feel as though it was a big story and we didn't get on it early enough. And so is that a mistake? Sure. We can acknowledge that we are not always perfect. My belief is that it's not our goal to be trusted, it's our goal to be trustworthy, which means we get up every single day and we try to do the best job so that we earn the worth, that we are worth people's trust, but we never assume that we're trusted.
But they assume, speaking of assuming, they assume that you didn't cover that story more fully because you're biased.
I do understand that, and that's why I think it's important to acknowledge when we're not.
But you don't think that was bias?
I was not there.
She's missing the point. If my father was a cheater and he cheats so many times on my mother, and my girlfriend asks, so what do you think about that your father did? You might do that, it's a cultural thing, what the heck is happening? I can say I wasn't born yet. like the way you answer proves to me that you are biased.
I was not there, and I cannot speak to the conversations that happened. So I don't know what went into it, but my view is that when we hear criticism, we need to take it on board and we need to examine what it is that is generating this criticism and determine what we're going to do about it. If we are going to serve the public interest, we need to hear from the public, and then we need to determine what of that is something that we can integrate in order to earn that public trust.
And if you had the trust of the public, you're not going to ask for federal money. You were already generating that by yourself.
Don't get me wrong, makosa kita bong. Put the fire na mi blonde, kush, hash, purple, skunk, criollo, colombici, jam, jam, durloqueta, verdeta, welcome.